Who'd have thought all it would take to make the Transformer films any good was to just, I don't know, get rid of Michael Bay. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
This is our post-Geekout reaction for Bumblebee, which I've had so many people asking me to review this film. Guys, it was the holidays. I told you all we were not going to be able to get to see everything because we were going to have to go out of town. Then we didn't go out of town because an airline, which I will not name, but let's just say it was not a foreign airline, but an American airline, completely screwed us over. So, hey, good news is we finally got to go and see Bumblebee. And this film is getting amazing reviews. People are loving it, but no one went and saw it.
Yeah.
And that absolutely stinks. Beach, go on there. That absolutely stinks because I looked at this and I was like, you know what? I'm not even like the biggest Transformers fan, but I can look at this and go, oh my God, you Transformer fans, you finally got one. You finally got a good movie. You finally got a movie that feels more like the thing that you always enjoyed, and it feels like actually has structure to it. And I can look at the designs of everyone up there and tell what the heck they are.
Yes.
The robots don't look like Fred Sanford's like junkyard just came to life. And it's just a big like wobbling pile of parts in there. Like I can look at a face and tell it's a face in this film. That's an arm over there, everyone. It's punching the other thing's big face. I know what's happening in the movie now, everyone. Hey, Peach, you wanted to stand there the entire time?
Maybe.
All right, whatever. This will be an interesting review. And yeah, people didn't go and watch it. And honestly, I can't blame them for not watching it.
Yeah, like after 5 movies of like that are absolute
some
garbage.
Of the worst. Like just continuously every single year, these movies are in everybody's worst of the year list. And they put this thing out, like, didn't the last film come out just last year?
I think so.
It was either
last year or 2 years ago or something.
Yeah, it was recent.
Yeah.
And I saw someone on Twitter say the reason why this movie flopped is for the same reason why the Christopher Nolan Batman films would have flopped if you had put them out the year after Batman and Robin. Like, after that, no, you need some time. No one wants to go back in there and, like, check this stuff out. And I just keep looking at this like, guys, for real? This is the one where you decide to finally stop watching this shit? Like, we had 5 of these movies that were bad. I'll admit, I actually kind of like the first one. Like, I think it's a decent popcorn film.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's a good movie,
like,
but
did
like...
you see the animated one that came out in the 80s?
Oh, well, yeah, but that's not part of
this. That doesn't count?
No, that doesn't count. Something made 2 decades before all the other ones that are part of a different continuity in a different format of media does not count.
Fair enough.
Yeah. This, that'd be like if saying, like, oh, the reason why Into the Spider-Verse isn't doing quite as well as everyone liked is because people are still mad about Spider-Man 3. It's like, what? No. So, yeah, this film, like, I keep thinking about how all those films just always brought in so much bank. And now is when everyone finally decides, you know what? I think I just realized these movies are stupid. Hey, wait a second in here. Which I know that the last Transformers film finally didn't open like they wanted it to. Like, it still made money, but it was the first one that wasn't like 100 million on its opening weekend. And like people were looking at it like, oh, it's finally like people are finally starting to wake up. They're finally realizing that these movies are terrible. And they finally make a good one. And it's not just a good one, it's a one that when I heard that they were making Bumblebee, I was like, what? Why? Why are you doing this? Why are you giving a spin-off film that's a prequel to all this other garbage that it's starring the guy who he can't even, like, I can't.
Can't even talk?
Yeah.
Just like you right now?
Yes, because I've got so many emotions. Just like Bumblebee. Not the guy, the entire movie. So many emotions. And it's like, why are you doing this? And then it turns out it's a good film. It actually is good. And people who saw it actually liked it. But it's the time that people finally like looked at it and was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm out. I'm finally
Yeah,
done
it's
with all
like
this.
we needed a break before we actually got like a good
need-
Transformers movie.
That's the thing that so many of these studios don't seem to understand with the
Yeah.
franchises they own is that, dude, sometimes you just need like a decade-long break.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that sounds like a long time, but it takes a long time to wash the taste of bad movies out of your mouth.
Yes, especially like a franchise. With,
Especially
like,
a franchise, especially when you're trying to like reboot the franchise, which that's what this was. Like, you can come in here and say, oh, but it was a prequel to all the Michael Bay Transformer films, all you want. Dude, in the last Michael Bay film, they said that Bumblebee killed Hitler in the 40s. And now, literally, the next year after that film came out, you're saying Bumblebee first arrived on Earth in 1987. Like, there is a moment in which they say that the Transformers helped Harriet Tubman. I'm sorry? What? And now you're coming in here, it's like the first time that they arrived on Earth was in 1987. It's like, yeah, okay. That's
that makes sense, because that's when the
Believable.
franchise started.
That's when the franchise started. That's when there were cars. So yeah, make no bones about this is absolutely a reboot. Not just because it's changing their history, but also because this film actually feels like it has structure. Mm-hmm. It feels like this is a film where they actually said, what if we actually try to like plot things out? Like not just throw random effects up at the screen to see what happens. Like this one actually feels like, oh my goodness, like, okay, point A to B to C. Oh my god, it's like a story, everyone. And it's a story that could possibly continue into future movies. Oh wow. I get how this works now. So yeah, they wanted this to reboot the franchise. And it didn't do well at the box office because they couldn't.
I'm so sorry.
I've been doing that all day.
Oh,
if you see me sniffing,
oh, Peach, no.
things came out of your mouth, I must make sure you're okay.
I'm fine, Peach.
Yeah, I've been sneezing nonstop. It's one of those days. So if you see me sniffing a lot, it's not for the same reason why I sniffed at all the other Michael Bay films, because it's the cinematic equivalent of just doing a boatload of cocaine. But no, it's because like my allergies are actually going nuts. Oh god, like that. Okay. I'm gonna leave that in. Every fiber of my being says cut that out. Nope, we're leaving all that in. But yeah, it's really disappointing. That being said though, I know the people who are loving this film are absolutely loving it. I do have problems with this film still, but it's a good movie. This is actually a well-made film, and it's well-written, and there's good characters in here, and you can actually tell what's happening on screen at any given time. But basically this film, it's all about this girl back in the 80s named Charlie. And recently, like the year right before this, her dad passed away. Mm-hmm. And she's kind of going through a bit of a rebellious phase because of it. And we were actually talking about this before we started filming, but you could actually relate to a lot to her on this. I don't know if you want to go into details about like her family, but basically, her mom has, I think she's already remarried. I think it's her husband.
Like, I don't know if it was a husband or boyfriend or they're just a fiance, but it's like, it's basically she's moved on.
Another male father figure in the house now. And when it comes to movies about your parents marrying someone new, there's two main stereotypes you can go with. There's the mean, abusive one, or there is the hunky-dory, hey there, kiddo, want to go out and play catch? And it's that guy.
Yes.
That's what this guy is. He is the weeniest weenie that ever weenied.
And the thing is, Charlie is a gearhead, and her dad was a gearhead, and that's how they were able to connect. They were actually working on a car together, and, you know, it's still, and she still hasn't fixed it yet. And she wants to fix it because she feels like maybe that'll maybe have her.
There's a moment in which she says if she can get the radio to work, then maybe her dad can hear it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is clear that her trying to fix this car is her way of trying to like grieve. It's her way of trying to like connect with her dad.
Yeah.
In a way. And there's this old auto parts yard that she keeps going to with all of her money that she earns working at the corn dog hut. And which by the way, you want to talk about something that is an iconic 80s outfit. It is that corn dog outfit.
Oh yeah, the lemonade and hot dog on a stick thing.
Yeah, exactly. Which that was something that existed in the 70s, it existed in the 90s, hell, it probably still exists today.
Maybe.
That specific outfit of like the striped giant hat, like,
yeah,
man, I associate that with the 70s and the 80s. But that is one small thing I'll get into right now. I think the 80s vibe is hammered in way too much. Like, there's tons of 80s music, which that makes sense when you think about the fact that she's into music, and also Bumblebee communicates with his radio. So that actually makes sense. I'll let the music kind of pass, but there are lots of, like, we reference this show, we reference this movie, we reference this thing.
I guess so, but, like, I've seen it done worse in
it's
other movies.
Worse. There are ones that
I
do
feel
worse.
like these references are, like, not as bad. So I was kind of like, okay.
Fair enough. For me, it was a little bit too much, but there are worse examples of it. But yeah, so what the heck was I saying? Oh yeah, so she keeps going to this auto parts yard. And she, like, spends all the money that she gets from working this job to try and get parts to rebuild this car, and it just, nothing works. But then one day, she finds this Volkswagen Beetle there, and it is old, it's dusty, it literally has beehives inside of it, and one day on her birthday, when her family doesn't get her the car that she wants, which is not even that they don't get her a car, it's that she's been trying to fix this car, and they won't give her, like, the money to fix it.
Yeah, it's like they won't, like, help out or anything.
Yeah, which, here's the thing. I'm torn on Charlie. I really am. And we're actually torn on this as well, because you feel one way completely about it, and I feel a different way. But I get why she is rebellious in here. I get why she is kind of, like, acting out. But I do feel like they kind of went a little bit too hard on that. Because there would be moments where, like, she would be just acting out towards her family like she's the only one that's suffering. And I kept kind of looking at it as like, dude, your mom, like, she's got to be sad about this too. But, like, when she's talking about her birthday, and she was like, just give me the money for the car, just give me the money for the parts I need. And, like, we just established that your mom is a nurse. Nurses do not make a lot of money. And it just felt like she never quite, like, understood her parents at all in this. But you talked to me about this, about, like, how you understand her.
Yes, because, like, I kind of, like, went through a very similar situation that she did, and it's like, when the only member of your family who understands you is gone, and no one else understands you, and you're just like, okay, fine, don't even try, because you're just not gonna get it, you're not gonna get me, we're too different, so just don't even bother, kind of thing, so.
Yeah, when you started telling me about that, I kind of eased off my complaints about Charlie a little bit, because I was like, oh, you know what, when the person who went through almost like something exactly like what she went through says, no, I get it, and that is how it's like, I'm like, okay, you know what, alright, I get it, alright, I backed off of my complaints a little bit there. I still feel like they went a little bit too hard on her at some times, but I do understand it. Also, the thing that we are referencing from your past is obviously the fact that your first car was a robot from space.
Yes.
Yes. But she ends up getting this Volkswagen Beetle because the guy who runs the auto parts place, she comes by every single day. She helps out there, and she's like, I will come by, I will work, I will scrub your toys. And she's like, it's your birthday. Go ahead and take it, kid. And, like, as she's driving out, one of the other mechanics is like, you know that car's a death trap, right? He's like, yeah, but she's happy. And I was like, okay, I actually buy this.
Yeah, it's like, they're like the complete opposite of her family, because, like, her mom gave her a helmet for her moped, and it's like, I just want to make sure you're safe, but, like, everyone at the auto shop is like, nah, this is what she's like, let her go, let her have fun. Like,
also, like, they kind of get her.
Yeah.
And that's nice.
Yeah.
Also, I really like that moment because, what's the stepdad's name? Rory?
Something like that?
It's like one of those, like, not saying like Rory is a basic generic name, but when you go with that hunky-dory, like, stepdad guy, there's like 5 names that you go with for that, and Rory is one of them. So it's something like that.
Like a Ron or something,
yeah,
maybe?
Rory, Ron, like, stuff like that. But he gives her a book that's just, like, the power of smiling, and it's like, hey, if you this is an entire book about why if you smile, like, you're more likely to have more friends, and life is likely to go better for you, and it is, like, a great, like, fuck you gift.
Yeah, it is.
But, not an intentional fuck you gift from him. But as she's driving out, and he's like, you know that's a death trap, right? He's like, yeah, but she's happy, and you see her smiling, it's like, it's kind of like, it kind of sums it up, like, he gave her a book on smiling more and why she should do it, and just shows how he doesn't get her, but they actually gave her the thing that made her smile. I was like, yeah, it kind of shows up that her family just does not understand it right now. But of course, the car turns out to be Bumblebee, and Bumblebee has no memory of where he came from, and his voice box has been destroyed. And we saw that at the beginning of this film.
Yeah, like, before the credits, like, they show him, like, escaping Cybertron, yeah, and, there was a big fight on Earth between him and two of the Decepticons.
No, in the beginning, it's just one of the Decepticons.
Oh, yeah, one of them, but he ends up teaming up with another one.
Which I did check the credits, but I remember in the trailer when this villain popped up, I thought it was Starscream, but then they kill him instantly, and I'm like, please tell me you're not trying to reboot your franchise and you just killed off Starscream in the first, 5 seconds. Plus, his voice didn't match Starscream at all. His voice was very intimidating and mature and dark, and Starscream was always known for, yes, Megatron, I'll do what you say and not stab you in the back. Yeah, I loved Starscream when I was a kid. I was not the biggest Transformers fan, but everybody loved Starscream. Because Starscream was that, just complete dick who was always plotting. He always had a plan, and it was never gonna work for him. But yeah, so I don't think it was actually Starscream, but man, did it look like Starscream. But he kills him, but in the process, his voice box is completely removed, and he gets severely damaged, and his memories are just completely corrupted and deleted.
And he has to do an emergency shutdown.
Yeah.
And the last thing he remembers was a Volkswagen Beetle, so that's why he took on that form.
Yeah, he goes into full blue screen, save whatever can possibly be saved. And so he kind of comes back to life, but he doesn't remember anything, and he's kind of I felt he was acting like a dog. You felt differently on this one.
Well, he's he doesn't know what happened. He doesn't know where he is. So, of course, he's going to be, very scared and, very curious about the world around him, so.
Yeah, but there's a moment at the beach where she's teaching him, okay, you gotta learn how to hide. You gotta learn to hide, Bumblebee. And to me, it was kind of like teaching your dog to play fetch, or teaching your dog to play dead. It really felt to me like, a girl and her dog kind of thing. But I know that you felt kind of differently on that one.
Well, I don't know. It's I see your point, but it's once again, it's he doesn't really have his memories, so I understand she's trying to
help him with
that, yeah.
Yeah, but this is a thing which I think there's a big divide on us on this one, is that I kind of felt weird about what they were doing with Bumblebee, because if we had just seen this side of Bumblebee, I would have been fine with it. I would be like, oh, that's fun, that's cute, that's okay, that's great. But because this film starts off and it shows that Bumblebee is actually a warrior, and Bumblebee actually, sorry, nose is acting up again. That Bumblebee actually is intelligent, and he actually is a thinking, functioning creature. And the reason he's acting this way is because he got damaged and his memories were deleted. It feels like a lot of it is played for laughs. There are scenes that are definitely played for laughs, where they're egging and toilet papering the house, or when he's trying to hide at the beach. They're definitely meant for laughs. And to me, because I saw what Bumblebee was like before his memories were deleted, and I know he's acting this way because his memories were deleted, it felt to me like laughing at someone with a head injury. And I didn't quite dig that. There were moments in which I was like, this is a well put together jokey scene and I want to laugh at, but instead I just feel bad.
Well, now you're making me feel bad.
Yeah, see, that's, But
I didn't think of it that way, so that's why I didn't really necessarily laugh at the scenes, but I thought they were entertaining.
Yeah. Even if they're not supposed to be flat out funny, they're supposed to be charming and fun. And yeah, I don't think the movie wants you to think of it that way.
Yeah, it's I was thinking more Iron Giant, when he lost his memory and Hogarth was trying to help him with that, or
which I think might have been what they were trying to go with in this. Except that the difference to me is that Iron Giant was nothing before his memories were deleted. He was just a weapon. So when you see him acting kind of childish and everything, when he's trying to figure out who he is, it was someone who is a child. It's someone who has not existed up until that point. This, to me, Bumblebee was actually I don't want to say person because he's not a person, but he was a thinking intellectual being before this. He had a personality of his own. He had all this going for him. And Yeah, so to me, it wasn't seen like the Iron Giant, which to me was something coming to life in a way. It was something like having its brain damaged, and now it's acting that way. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't feel good about this, and that was a problem for me throughout this film.
Well, like, I guess so, but, like, then there was that scene where, like, you know, Charlie got injured and, like, Bumblebee snaps and, like, then he starts, like, going to, like...
Then he does go into Iron Giant mode.
Yeah, exactly. So I was
That's why I'm saying I think they were trying to do Iron Giant with this. And I'm like, yeah, but there's one big difference between the two of them on this. Yeah. And that big difference is what kind of kept me from getting into this as much as I think other people were.
Fair enough. I see your point.
Yes. But, of course, you know, towards the end of this, Bumblebee does kind of, like, come back.
Yeah, he gets his memory back.
Yeah, which, spoiler alert on that one, but this is meant to be a prequel?
Yeah.
This is still, like, such a weird movie because it is, like, it has to be a reboot.
Yes.
Because literally none of the continuity in this matches any of the continuity of any of the other films. They don't even look the same as they do in any of the other films. But Bumblebee's still, at the end of this film, like exactly like he is in the other film. It's like, in fact, even the trailers for this thing, like when the trailer for this film starts up, it's Bernie Mac's speech from the very first Transformers film about how a car chooses the person that drives it. And I was like, but wait, is this
a reboot or a prequel? I don't know. A requel, a preboot, a what?
A Ricola? What? Need a throat lozenge for this film?
I might need one, though.
Our allergies really are killing us. We should probably be wrapping this up soon.
Yeah.
But I will say, even though I kind of had the problems with Bumblebee in this that I just explained, it's still really charming, the interactions between him and Charlie. Mm-hmm. The interactions between Charlie and Memo are great in this.
Yeah.
And even though I did have a problem with the way that Charlie was treating her family, at the end of this, there's a moment in which her mom just sits her down and goes, okay, stop and listen to me. You think you're the only one going through? I was like slow 80s applaud just standing up there. Hey, Peach. Sorry, our dog thought it was playtime because I was clapping. Get up here, goof. Also, I almost called him Channing Tatum again. We did this after we got out of the movie. I kept calling him Channing Tatum, and you kept looking at me like, what? Wasn't it John
Cena?
I thought it was Channing Tatum because I didn't see John Cena up there. But no, John Cena, the Pokemon evolved form of Channing Tatum. Yeah, I really like what they did with his character in here. Because you can understand why he would not trust Bumblebee, why he would be after them. Mm-hmm. And when these two Decepticons come down, and they're saying, like, no, he is a war criminal, we have to hunt him down. Even though John Cena got, like, a few brief moments of interaction with Bumblebee, like, he still saw a giant explosion that killed a lot of his friends in there. So he's like, I don't know, now these other two robots are telling me that they're the bad guys. But he still isn't dumb enough to instantly trust these new robots. In fact, there is a great line in here that is a joke that people have made, about the Transformers for years. Someone finally acknowledged it, in which the rest of the government is like, well, they say they'll give us access to some of their technology if we help them out to find Bumblebee. Maybe we should probably go ahead and do it. And he goes, guys, their name is Decepticon. Is that not saying off any red flares with anyone? It's like, oh my god, someone acknowledged it. And
yeah, but it's like the reason why it's like, if we don't give them access to our information, then they'll go to the Russians.
And that's what I loved about that, is that there actually is a believable reason why, even though these people who was like, yeah, we don't really trust these space robots, we kind of don't have a choice. Like, because I don't think a lot of people remember, back in the Cold War, we were willing to do whatever it took to win. And if all of a sudden some space robots showed up and just like, we'll give you high-tech technology, that's it. Just trust us. That's it. Like, we would have no other choice. So, yeah. I actually really dug that. Mm-hmm. Also, I really like the two Decepticons in here.
Yeah.
I really dig that one of them, like the main one, I didn't know either. I don't even know if they actually say their names anymore.
I don't know. It's like, do you want to look it up or not?
Yeah, because I would be looking up and it would be like, robot name. I'd be like, which robot was that? The only one whose name I know is Cliff Jumper because he kept saying his name over and over again.
Yeah, that's like a military thing, so.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like basically when you're like a prisoner of war, all you do is like state your name, date of birth, and like your your social security or something like that. Like basically they tell you like these are the three things you're allowed to say and nothing else. And it's basically on your dog tags too. So.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. Wow, that makes that scene way better. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil what happens to Cliffjumper in here, but it's the same thing that has happened to Cliffjumper in like 3 other interpretations of Transformers. Poor Cliffjumper. Allergies killing me again. All right, speed this up. All right, but yeah, I really like them in there because they are again just evil because they're the Decepticons, but they have like personality.
Yeah, like the blue male robot. He is like, these humans are insignificant. Let's just crush them all.
I just want to kill things.
Yeah, and like the female red robot, she's like, no. Let's negotiate with them.
She's
like,
a scalpel.
Yeah, she's like the more like the cunning one. She's like, we can work with them, and then we'll kill them when we got all the information we need.
This is something I need to point out. This film was actually written by a woman, and you can absolutely tell because not only do female characters in here actually have arcs and they grow and they mature in here, unlike in a lot of other films not written by women, but also there's a female villain in here, and the female villain is not just A, a femme fatale that's there just to be sexualized, or B, the one who is going to just plot to backstab the male villain the entire time. Like, no, she's actually a good female villain. That's like, okay, it's refreshing to get that.
Yes.
Yeah, she's actually just a well-written villain. So kudos. Yay. So yeah, I really enjoyed them in here. Bumblebee, even though I have those problems in there, I do find a lot of his moments really charming in here. And again, the character interactions in here are great. Like, her family comes back around. Like, we talk about how, like, she can't connect with her family. The resolution to that whole arc with her family is great. I love that in here. I will say the little brother in here is annoying throughout the entire film. He was annoying throughout the entire movie. I gotta give it that. But when it comes time to our score, tell you what, you go first. Since I think you enjoy this more than me. What did you give it?
Maybe an 8.5.
Okay.
Something like that.
I was a firm 7 throughout this entire film. Like, I like it. It's good. Not going any higher above that. But the end of this film is so damn good, it got me up to an 8. Like, the end of this film is great. Especially, like, the final shot. That final moment made me just look at this and like, can you imagine? Can you imagine if we had not gotten any of the Bayformers? If we had not gotten any of those films and this had been the first Transformers film, we would have just been set up for just an epic of fantasy and wonder and great bonding human interactions with these robots. It would have been a great series. We ain't getting that though. Not unless China really comes through on this one, which China does love themselves some giant robots, so it could happen. It could happen. But even China didn't really show up for that last Transformers film like they were expecting. So we will see. But yeah, man, I looked at this and I was just like, God, this really was refreshing. And even though I'm not the biggest Transformers fan, this felt like what I enjoyed about Transformers when I was a kid. And I can actually see like a whole generation of new kids watching this and like really getting into it. This is one of those films that I will be interested in seeing what happens to it in like 10, 20 years down the road. I will be interested in seeing what just happens to the Transformers franchise in 10, 20 years down the road. Because if they keep making the Bayformer films, it could be one of those things where this just gets buried and then everybody like, 20 years from now is like, remember when they made that good Transformers film? They never made a good Transformers film. It's like, no, there was actually that one that everybody forgets about. But if like they just stop making Transformers films after this one, this could be one of those things that, again, like 5 years down the road, like there will be enough demand and like it'll become like one of those cult classics that people just rediscover over time. So yeah, we will see what happens with that. Also, even though I did have a problem with all the 80s references in here, I thought they overdid it. This does have like that nice vibe of 80s films of the like.
There actually like was a scene like you went out to get popcorn and everything, but like there was a scene where Memo and Charlie drove up with a Bumblebee. Like, basically, at this point, Memo accidentally discovered a Bumblebee's
when I
disguise.
came back, her and Charlie and Memo had now finally bonded. I was like, oh, okay, well, that was clearly some character development I missed.
Yeah, well, like, yeah, so that's that, and then... And Bumblebee, like, he drove him over, like, to, like, a cliff where, like, the popular guy in school was, like, diving. And he's like, oh, hey, we got a champion over here. We got a champion diver over here. Why don't you step up? And Charlie was like, no, I'm not ready yet. And then Bumblebee, like, he turns on the radio and says, you got the touch, Bumblebee. You got the power.
Well, in all fairness, that's actually a reference to...
Yes, it is, but it's also 80s music, so, like...
But that's one of those 80s songs that's, like, you need in this film.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that was great. I wish you were here for that.
That's actually a really good moment, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but it's like she was not ready to do the dive, so that's when the popular girls started like chewing her out, and that's when they got revenge.
Right.
So that led up to the egging and TPing part.
I saw that part. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we did really like this film. Really recommend seeing it. Especially if you are a Transformers fan, especially if you've been turned off by the Bayformer films. Like, this one totally it is worth going out there and checking out. Like, we should point this out. I mean, the reason why, as we said, I think the reason why this bombed is because people just were sick of the Bayformer films.
Yeah.
And when I asked you, do you want to go and see Bumblebee? You said, I'm sick of the Bayformers. Like, even you
Yes.
did not know that this was not connected to that. Like, this is not, like, this is different.
Yeah, but it's like, it's hard not to realize that because this is
It's
based off
it
the
still
live
looks like
action,
it.
is based off the live action Transformers.
It still might be connected to it in some way.
Yeah,
like,
we don't know entirely.
yeah, which, I mean, no one on any of these films have any plans, and what really stinks about this is that this is the first one of those Transformer films where you look at it and you're like, oh my god, it feels like someone had a plan. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, so many of the freaking Transformer films, they'll end with, like, a thing. It's like, we never had to do this before. It's like, you literally did that in the last film. Now I go off, and this will never be the same again. You literally are going to do it in the next film, too. We all know this. Yeah, man. Ooh, boy. So, yeah, this film, it is good. I recommend checking it out. Spoiler time. I really enjoyed what they did with John Cena in here. Because again, I don't know like all the lore of Transformers. I don't follow everything with them. But I did watch the last cartoon. Well, maybe not the last cartoon, but whatever one was on the hub. I watched that one, which was actually pretty darn good. And there was a human military guy in there who becomes obsessed with the Transformers. And he eventually ends up like turning himself into like a human Transformer. Like he builds like a giant mech that he becomes like a part of. And there was a moment which I was like, are you going to do that with John Cena's character in here? Because that actually make him a pretty good villain because I like this guy. Like, you understand where he's coming from. You understand that, you understand, like, why he is suspicious of these robots, but he's not dumb about this. So you do kind of, if he became a villain, it would be one of those, like, good villains that, like, you can actually understand. So I thought they were actually going to turn him into that character. But no, at the end of this, he actually believes Bumblebee. He gets on Bumblebee's side. He salutes him as a soldier. And I was like, that's actually, man, that shows a lot of maturity for this character and a lot of intelligence for this character that he, even though you can understand how he would not be able to understand the thing he's seen right in front of his face, he's able to understand the thing he's seen right in front of his face. Because anybody else out there, you see just robots punching each other from space and blowing shit up and a bunch of your friends die in that explosion. You can understand, and they're all involved in some big war that you know nothing about at all. You can understand how he would think that Bumblebee is a bad guy. It's like, no, he understands it. So, good. I really enjoyed that part in there. And John Cena, actually, it still stuns me how well that guy can act. I'm not saying, like, he's, like, Academy Award levels, but, like, he's actually genuinely a pretty good actor.
You think he'd be the next Dwayne Johnson?
I think he is. I think he's lined up for that. So, yeah, I really dug him in this film. I thought Memo was great. I wish we had gotten a little bit more of Memo.
Yeah.
Anything else in here? Oh, yeah, the moment when the stepdad, Ron, saves the day.
Yeah.
Because he's such a weenie, and then he pulls off, like, this big, like, heroic car stunt.
It's like, I saw this on Miami Vice, and it's like, that actually is a good reference, though, because it actually moves the plot forward.
Also, because it references the fact that he basically doesn't do anything himself, he just watches other people do stuff on TV. So it's like, that does describe his character a lot, so it's like, okay, that one I understand. When he does that big stunt, like, I love that Charlie looks back and is like, oh, Ron's actually kind of cool. Okay, he did kind of a cool thing. And I love that, like, when that was happening, I kept looking, it's like, you could have gotten the kid in the backseat of your car killed. And, like, immediately the first words out of the mom's mouth are, what is wrong with you? We have a kid in the car. And then goes, I was doing it to save the other kid. It was a lose-lose. I was like, he's got a point. He's kind of got a point. There was no winning this. Also, I want to know how they made that kid throw up. I want to know how they made that, because, like, the kid in the backseat of the car, like, puked right after that. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, it's easy to make someone puke. You just load up their mouth with stuff, and then it's...
Like, he was like...
But he talked right before.
Yeah, that was radical. So, like, how do you manage to, like, talk without not having the fake vomit?
Yeah, I want to know, like,
out?
was the vomit all CGI? Like, because, I mean, it was really good CGI on that moment, but... Yeah, I actually am, out of all the special effects they had here, that's the one I'm most curious about. Maybe that wasn't even intentional. He actually just threw up right there. Yeah, so I really did enjoy this film at the end. And then there at the end, when Bumblebee is there with Optimus Prime, which, by the way, when he starts driving off and he pulls up next to this big red truck, I was like, oh I know what that is. Oh, that's right. But then it actually was, by the way, as the credits start up, those credits are great.
Yes.
Those are some damn good looking credits. But then it like cuts to Bumblebee and Optimus Prime out there in the woods, and it's like, you did the honorable thing and you protected Earth, Bumblebee, B1496 or whatever his name is.
Yes, and he's like, call me Bumblebee, using the radio on his...
And my heart was like, oh, like, that's why he stuck with that name. It's like, it actually makes the Bayformer films better, because now you can look at, like, him using the radio to talk as not just being a gimmick, but like, oh, it's a connection back to Charlie, and like, why is he called Bumblebee, this human insect thing? It's like, it's a reference back to the human who he cares about, like, him showing, like, how much she meant to him. It's like, oh, man, like, that is the best thing I can say about this film.
And another spoiler, Charlie gets the car fixed, so... Yeah, that's another, like...
That's a nice one.
That's another one to wrap up on, too.
Yes, but I love that she kept saying that she wanted to get the radio working again, because she thought that if the radio worked, then her dad could hear it. And again, it now makes you look at every time that Bumblebee speaks with the radio, it makes you look at Bumblebee and just be like, that's Charlie talking to her dad right there. It's like, man, yeah, this film, it makes... And again... This is in no way a compliment to Michael Bay, because he had nothing to do with this. You do not get points for this. But this film actually gave like some depth and dimension to the characters in the Michael Bay films, because of those things like, why is Bumblebee called Bumblebee? Why does he speak with a radio? What's the important? Like, that's not a gimmick anymore. It actually has some emotional relevance to it. And then at the end, you see like all the other Transformers coming down, and yeah, you just look at that. It's like, imagine what could have been.
Yeah.
Man, we could have gotten a great series of Transformers movies if this had been a success, and if they had never made the Bayformer films and we had gone with this one. But it happens, so sorry, whatever. Sometimes life just sucks, everybody. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Coming up later this weekend, we'll be reviewing Mary Poppins and also Watson and... God damn it, I mess it up every time. Holmes and Watson. I don't know why I want to call it Watson and Holmes, but Holmes and Watson.
Does it really matter?
No. Spoiler alert, that movie's awful. Bye, everyone.
Bye.